To your teacher training video where we are looking at providing verbal feedback to students. Now, as educators, we have professional standards that we need to abide by, and when we're looking at the early childhood section, we have the learning framework here that we need to look at. So when we are providing any feedback to students, we need to make sure that we are focused on the assessment and planning. We need to make sure that we are using appropriate language with the students and that we are connecting with them, and we're helping them to be confident as learners and teaching them how to be effective communicators. Now, you're modeling how to actually communicate with the student back and forth, and so listening and responding and using appropriate language is going to be part of it. And when you use verbal feedback, you need to, because you're looking at providing learning stories and learning tasks that are with the child, you're looking at, where is it down here, building your relationship, but you're also, they're collaboratively working with you. So when you've got some child-centered learning tasks and things, you need to be really engaged with the students and working with them to be creating your learning tasks and activities that you've set. And so when you are doing a verbal feedback, you need to make sure that you're listening to the child, and it's a child-centered focus program. So this is where your verbal feedback is going to be important, and it's incorporated, you can see, in a lot of the different standards here listed for early childhood. Now, when we look at for primary and secondary, it is over here. So we provide feedback to students on their learning. So we're demonstrating an understanding of the purpose of providing timely and appropriate feedback for students. So timely, so do you need to be providing verbal feedback then and there? And this is highly appropriate for the early childhood setting as well. Do you need to be doing it then and there? Does it need to be down the track? Do you need to step back and let the child or student work through the task and navigating the learning journey and sort of guiding them with your verbal feedback? And as an educator, this is something that you will learn by experimenting back and forth and sort of watching different students being more involved, stepping back, and you'll build your experience and knowledge around this area. And being appropriate, make sure it's age appropriate feedback and it is actually linked to the learning that's actually taking place. So when it comes to verbal feedback, you never use gender related verbal sentences. So never say good boy or good girl. Substitute with great job. I find that to be really helpful. I was one of those teachers way back when it was fine to say good boy or good girl, but we're learning to be more appropriate with our talk, and we're not going to make it a gender-based feedback. We're just going to be basing it on the work that's actually being done. Be specific and direct and acknowledge the behavior or the achievement. So I'm so proud of you for completing the painting on your own. So you need to make sure that you're recognizing the behavior, you're acknowledging it, you're being direct and specific, okay, and you're making sure that you use a student's name as well as one of the other points that you need to in there. Thank you for listening to me and putting the box back. So appreciating it when they do actually follow through and listen and complete the task at hand. I appreciate it when everyone listens to, say, Jonathan while they are talking. So you're learning and you're teaching by modeling gratitude, and you're also modeling appreciation when they do carry out different tasks. So this is a really good behavior management tool as well, because when you do see one child or one student that's actually doing your classroom culture, you will have built all the different standards and the different values that you have inside your classroom, and so appreciating each other and respecting each other will be part of the listening task, and so you're appreciating that person, and you'll find that other students look around and realize, oh my goodness, maybe I'm not doing that, and they actually check themselves and they redirect their own behavior. So you're teaching independence there. I'm proud of you for remembering to wash your hands before we eat. So you've got different processes to help with healthy eating inside the learning environment, whether it's early childhood or primary is probably a more appropriate with the lower ones, and primary, not, hopefully they've actually got it by secondary, and that's a really good clear example of how we would show really good verbal feedback, and then make sure it's obviously linked to the different types of curriculum or the framework that we're looking at. So link or align your feedback to focus on the goals or the classroom culture focus words. Now, if you've done the behavior management course, you will have known or learnt all about the classroom culture. So I'm really big on behavior management being more of a classroom culture and not actually strategies to discipline. So basically you are fostering and setting up a learning environment where the students are responsible and actually hold themselves accountable and want to work towards keeping the learning environment to being valuable. So we're looking at words like respect, kindness, responsibility, independency, risk-taking, confidence, concentration, focus. There's lots and lots of different words that you can use and focus on, and depending on the age group. So here you were very responsible, Jessica, when you put your rubbish in the bin. So you're directly naming the person, so you're using your social recognition, you're naming the actual thing that they did, the achievement that you want to thank them for or recognize, and you're labeling the actual focus word here. That was very kind of you to share the one car when playing, Jonathan. Or Jessica. So I'm just substituting names here, but naming the child here is what's really important, and also linking to the actual value that's inside of your classroom culture. So while you do have all of your professional standards that we have to abide by as an educator, this should not limit the amount of animation or energy that you bring to your learning environment. So I always get really enthusiastic, like I'm ridiculously enthusiastic, and celebration is part of my classroom culture. So while it is what we call a behavior management tool, it crosses over to be so much more than that. This is why I call it a classroom culture, because celebrating achievements is part of your verbal feedback, it's part of your assessment and part of your reporting, as well as behavior management. So it really does widen the scope and covers so much more than just behavior management. So being animated and energetic, referring to their name, using social recognition, and adding a physical cheer or a high five. Perhaps you have students that have a range of different things. They don't like the high five or the social recognition, so perhaps you have a matrix that the student, you can have a chat to about them, and you can show them the matrix, and maybe they can select each one which they would prefer to have, whether it's quietly done without that social recognition, which is absolutely fine. And that's how you're tailoring the learning to all your different needs within your classroom. Now, to bring this in and introduce it to a classroom, I always discuss it with my students at the beginning. So I let them know that I get really super excited about learning. Like, I'm so passionate and loud about learning. I think it's awesome when we achieve goals, and what's even more awesome is that we can celebrate together. Now, there's a really good video that I'm going to show you, and I will pop the link under here, and it's something to show the students if you want to show them while you're having this discussion with them. But I say, look, I loved giving high fives, I give fist pumps. I like to do like a little happy dance that I have. I even have like some music that I play, and it's 10 seconds long. But this is something I introduced down the track. Now, if you've seen my behavior management course, you will know what I'm talking about. But I make sure that I have all, and I'm able to redirect and bring the students back. I don't lose them when I introduce my happy dance song. So it is something that's given out strategically. It'll be a little bit later down the track after, say, a term or so. But yeah, you'll love the video. It's really, really great. It gets this whole point across. I then ask them what they do when they get excited about achieving, or what happens in their families, and we all have a big discussion as a whole class, and I'll do a mind map about it. You can further extend this by having an actual drawing, and the students can do a literacy task where they can actually talk about or write about their own achievement with a drawing, and then we have a group discussion at the end. And then as a group, we decide about what are ways that we can celebrate in the classroom. Like, we really want to celebrate achievements. What are those ways? And you might want to build your matrix then. Okay, and that way when you've got the matrix up on the board, you can actually point to one of them, and so when someone's done something, we can all celebrate together. So have a little watch this video that I found the other day. You're going to love it. Feel free to share it with your students or pop it into your classroom page, so your classroom website. And if you want to know more about how to build your classroom website, or if you wanted to jump in and join our teacher mentorship program, the link will be under this video as well.